So AJ, if you want to jump to the next slide real quick, and I can just introduce us. And for some reason, my picture went away, but you can see this here. You don't need to see that twice, but that's okay. My name is Justin Baxley. I'm the Vice President of Retail Product Management over at PDI Technologies. You may or may not be using any of our stuff, and I'll talk about that here in a second, but a lot of what my team does is everything in what we call the enterprise productivity space. So that's running your business, and I do, and my team does that whole space that's anything about running your retail business, not your wholesale fuel, and not getting into the consumer engagement parts of our business or into the what we'd call like sort of the platform and security. And we got AJ Richichi here with us from Sprockets. He is the founder and CEO of Sprockets, and he's going to tell you more about what they do. But what we're really looking at here is if you go to that next slide for me, AJ, PDI, well, and there's where my picture went like magic at the end and the transition. That was exciting. But PDI, in our workforce management stuff, you guys are going to have some familiarity with this possibly. We deal with sort of the time clock and the payroll and the labor scheduling pieces, as well as extending some of that stuff to your employees through self-service apps on their Apple or Android phones. And what AJ is going to be looking at here is really before we ever even get to the places where PDI touches. So if you think about this, if you're wrestling with this and say, hey, look, I don't have PDI today, or I do have PDI, and how do the things that we're talking about fit with me? The PDI workforce suite really doesn't have an effect on you being able to take advantage of some of the cool stuff that AJ is going to talk to you about and some of the trends he's going to explore with you. And that's really one of the reasons why we kind of brought this conversation together is that, we've got a really strong community of people who work together to solve problems. And sometimes PDI Technology says, hey, we've got a great offering for you to help you solve these problems. And sometimes we look at it and go, guys, we all agree there's a problem. Every time we get together, we talk about it. There's a problem with hiring, recruiting, retention, all those pieces. And we found this great group here with Sprockets that's solving that problem in new and innovative ways. And we wanted to get you guys a chance to have an audience with them and see what they're doing and sort of explore some of the ideas AJ wants to share with you today. With that, I can turn it over to you, AJ.
Great. Thank you, Justin. And thank you, everyone, for coming here today. Really appreciate it. Yeah, as Justin said, we are so passionate about solving problems for the space. And like PDI, want to align ourselves with brands and organizations that are committed to the future of C-stores specifically. So excited to be here today. Grateful for all of your time. One thing that I'm particularly interested in is especially, and we're going to talk about this a lot today, the labor market is changing very quickly. And the needs for technology within hiring and labor market are changing equally as fast. And so we're offering $25 to anyone that sends me an email. And you can see here, it's aj@sprockets.ai, to schedule a time to just tell us your story. What is your group struggling with hiring? What kind of pain points are you currently having? And what have you seen be successful within your network or your region or your geo? I'd love to buy your time, if you will, and further explore different ways that we could potentially partner down the line or just learn more about your group. So I would appreciate if you reached out and willing to pay $25 Visa gift card in order to make that happen. But today, my main focus is to talk about the 3 biggest pain points of hiring today. And what's interesting is over the last 2 years, we've seen tremendous shift in the labor market, which is creating the 3 problems, which I'm going to talk about in a second. We had unemployment go from 3.5%, which is a historic low, to 15% unemployment rate, which is a historic high, back down to 3.4%, which is another historic low. 2 shifts greater than the Great Depression shift, twice in a 24-month period of time, creating tremendous shock to everyone involved, requiring different things from hiring technology, stressing us all out, creating headaches for general managers and hiring managers like yourself across the country. And it's left us with a lot of questions and new challenges that is simply unknown and unsolved before this crazy shift in the labor market. And these are some of the things condensed, and we service about 5,000 customers today. So this is kind of condensed feedback I've gotten over the years and over particularly the last couple of months. And I won't be able to see you, but if you feel the power, raise your hand if you also feel this way. Ghosting is really bad right now, right? It's as more people are applying to jobs, it feels like we can't get anybody to show up for an interview, right? Can't get anybody to pick up the phone or answer an email to please come in, please work here. Also, I think one of the biggest misnomers or biggest misconceptions of what's happened in the labor market is, despite there being historically low unemployment, applicant flow is still an issue, right? Because when I look closer at the labor market, there's 3 million people missing from the hourly workforce. So although the historically low unemployment rates are showing up on all the reports, still hard to find people. And lastly, it's very, very expensive to get top of funnel metrics, because Indeed during COVID has created a true monopoly, made it harder than ever before to get new people in, and making it more expensive than ever before to, get a bunch of new people top of funnel so you can hire effectively. So you're hearing a lot of things, but a lot of frustration. So when I think of the challenges in the labor market today, first, sourcing applicants, right? This is our bread and butter in the C-store space. Second, ghosting. Candidates now can apply to more jobs on their phone in one sitting than ever before. And that's an HR tech problem. So I can tell you, because of the position I'm in of driving HR technology, is during the labor crunch, when there wasn't a lot of people available, we heard from customers like you in quick service restaurants and in C-stores and hospitality markets and just everywhere, said, reduce all friction. We want somebody to be able to apply. We don't want them to have to fill out any long forms. We don't want them to have to do WOTC tax screenings. We don't want them to have to do background checks. Just if they want to work here, I just need their phone number. And what happened was HR technology moved that to the extreme, where they created this new problem, which is the one button apply, where on Indeed, I'm a millennial, I'm very savvy on my phone. I go to a job board and I see 25 job openings. You know what I'm doing to make sure I have a job tomorrow is I'm pressing apply, 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 and applying to 25 jobs in one sitting. And so this creates a bit of a bait and switch, where I go to my Indeed account and I see, oh man, we got all these applications. I'm really excited. But when you try calling them, nobody responds. That's a huge challenge. And lastly, turnover is exceeding 180% in more C-store locations. 180%. That means that if you have 10 employees per location, typically you have to hire about 18 people over the course of 2023 just to stay staffed. 3 big problems, 3 big challenges that I'm excited to dig into more. So first challenge being sourcing applicants. So like I mentioned before, despite really low, historically low unemployment rates, we have about 3 million people missing from the hourly workforce. And people always ask me, AJ, where did these people go? They didn't just vanish. The truth is that they may have changed market. They may, instead of getting a W-2 employee, now they drive Uber or DoorDash. They may have upskilled. So during COVID, what a lot of people did was they took certifications. They went back to college. Another big problem is childcare. So because people don't feel comfortable driving their people to driving their kids to school, they decided during COVID they were going to stay home. And then once the world opened back up, they enjoyed it. They got to spend more time with their kids. They figured out their finances so that they can have one single parent working rather than both. And also a big point, a problem of this is Indeed's monopoly, where because there's not as many workers in the workforce today available to work, Indeed can charge more for every job posting. So remember the day when you could just go to Indeed and for free, you could post a job and then you just got applicants coming through? That doesn't happen anymore because we have a cost per click, cost per applicant model, where although you can post for free, you're now on the 3rd page, the 4th page, the 5th page. And to really get into any meaningful position where somebody can press apply, you got to spend, between $10 and sometimes $100 per applicant to get people through. So sourcing, not to be super morbid, but sourcing's gotten a lot harder. It's gotten a lot more expensive, and you're pulling from a smaller labor market than you were before COVID. So a solution, just some things to think about that you can do. First is re-engage your past applicants. So right now, the average C-store, at least our customers, have about 1,000 applicants that previously applied over the last 3 years sitting in their Indeed account. So these are people that applied and didn't come work for you. They may have ghosted you. You may have ghosted them. Your general manager may have reached out, but by then they started to work at McDonald's or started working at a competing C-store, but these are all people that have at one point said, I am interested at working at your location. And what's interesting about Indeed functionality and ZipRecruiter functionality and app tracking and Paycor and Paycom is you own all of those past applicants. Those are your applicants to reach out to. And you are entitled to call those people, message those people, drip campaign those people. And they will, I'll tell you from our functionality, and I'll talk about it in a little bit, they will come back and they will come work for you. And what's interesting is those are free. Instead of feeling top of funnel or being completely dependent on Indeed to fill that applicant pipeline, you can simply go to your past applicants and enroll people to come back at no additional cost. So it's just something to think about. Another is diversifying your job boards. So we all know that Indeed is kind of like the 1,000-pound gorilla here, right? They have the most applicants, they have the most employers, et cetera, et cetera. But there are other job boards that you can use to be able to increase the visibility of your job posts. ZipRecruiter, as one example, is a really fast emerging platform within the hourly workforce. You could post through applicant tracking to ZipRecruiter. There's also other platforms, which I'll make sure that we get you guys a list, where for free, you can distribute your jobs to hopefully get more traffic within your applicant flow. So 2 things, if you don't want to become too reliant on Indeed, which is always just a challenging thing, is re-engaging past applicants, diversifying where you're posting your jobs. And a pro tip I just put here, be careful when you contact past applicants without an expert. There's some spam issues you can run into. Like I just always use this example as the extreme. If somebody applied 5 years ago and you call them every single day, or you email them every single day, or you text them every single day without, let's just use an example of like an unsubscribe button, that can be seen, of course, as spam. And in some states, it's not just frowned upon, it's outright illegal. So when you use and you go after past applicants, make sure you're working with a software or an expert just to make sure you're compliant. But again, not to deter you from doing it because it's highly, highly effective, which I'll share in a second. Challenge number 2. So ghosting. Ghosting is like a huge phenomenon right now within the space. So in our experience, C-stores are seeing about 80% of ghosting. So if you get 10 people in Indeed and you try to call each of those 10, only 2 people will apply, right? And this was created, I think, because of what I mentioned before, the one-click apply culture, right? Where instead of being very high intent and applying to 3 jobs that I'm really passionate about that I want to go work for, I can in one sitting apply to 25 jobs as an applicant. So just like law of numbers is I'm going to work for 1 out of 25 of these jobs, not 1 out of 4. Next is GMs are short-staffed, as you guys know, and they're really busy. In addition to being responsible at a lot of C-stores for hiring, interviewing, sourcing, getting referrals, they're also responsible for the day-to-day operations, like making sure that the fried chicken tastes good, making sure customers are happy, making sure the till is even, making sure the schedule is right? And it's hard to ask managers today to constantly be at their desk to look for new applicants coming in. So by the time, their shift's over, it's not easy work, as you know. It's, 6 p.m., they're on their couch trying to deflate a little bit. They got to go to their applicant tracking system and call people that applied throughout the day, most of which it's too late. Competitors have reached out to those people. They've already taken a job and you've missed your window to be successful. Very hard, complex problem that's really come to light during COVID. So solutions is helping general managers get to information faster and getting them more information for that first touch. So the first is set the notification systems up within your platforms. So a lot of applicant tracking, of course, Sprockets are really passionate about this. You can set up text and email notifications to help general managers stay on top of applicant flow. Do not, and I'm always surprised, but it's 90% of our customers when they come to us don't have a notification system for general managers. They rely on general managers to be at their computer to make decisions. But you can responsibly set up a notification system so at, between the hours of 8 and 5, if somebody applies, your general manager on a store-bought phone or their personal phone gets a text message that says, hey, AJ Richichi just applied, press here to get re-engaged. Or an email message to do that same thing. I watch notifications. I've seen a little bit of everything. But the fact is, getting them the information faster, so as soon as somebody applies, they can act. The second is make applicants feel special early. So the largest cohort in the hourly workforce is under the age of 24 years old. So that means that the future of your workforce, and most likely your workforce today, is young and was born after, believe this or not, after the year 2000. This is a generation, and I'll point and laugh at myself because I'm a millennial, but this is a generation, millennials and Gen Zs, that care about feeling special. We want to feel recruited. We want to feel welcomed. We want to feel like we're one of one, right? And so the faster you reach out to me in this instant gratification, Instagram, TikTok culture, the faster you give me those warm fuzzies, the more likely I am to stop applying to other jobs and come work for you. So the faster you're able to get to candidates and to give them not just a, hey, thanks for applying, we'll let you know if we're interested. The faster you can get to them and say, hey, thanks for applying, we want you. We think you belong here. Like you're our number one recruit. I know it sounds like that won't be that big of a difference in terms of messaging, but we see a tripling and quadrupling conversion rate when you shift the messaging to that and less blanket language for all across the board. So pro tip, use emojis and fun messaging in candidate correspondence. Don't think it has to be professional or clean cut. That's not how this generation speaks, and it's not their love language right now. Next is turnover. Turnover, as I said, 180% in the C-store space right now. And you can see this fact here, 81% of your employees will leave within a year. 25% won't last longer than a month. That's just the reality we live in, right? It's our industry. It's bad, but it doesn't have to be this bad. So turnover is at an all-time high, and GMs, when turnover is bad and applicant flow is low and ghosting is so extreme, have to make desperate hires, right? They skip this part, they skip that point, they overlook this. And because they don't have that big of a pool to pull from, they kind of just to fill schedules, hire people that they know are going to turn over and do a lot of harm to our business. So it's a vicious cycle that, there's not one silver bullet, of course, to fix everything, but there are ways to be able to chip away at the retention rate. So the two things that I've seen be very successful actually start at the screen. So there's a lot of technology out there, and I'll tell you a little bit about Sprockets, but there's other solutions, of course, that allows for a screen to occur before that person hits your general managers. So that's pre-screening technology to help your general managers, when they get to an applicant, be able to prioritize and hire somebody on spot. And when done with sophistication and intelligence, that screen oftentimes is smarter and leads to better outcomes than if they went through the entire process with the general managers. General managers, I have a lot of respect for, I have a lot of love for. They're our end users, but a lot of times they're not, master's degrees. They're not SHRM certified, which is the Society of Human Resource Management. They make mistakes just as we all do. We're all human. And creating tools for them to be able to make better decisions creates oftentimes a far better outcome than without those things. And lastly, screening equitably. So companies that have a diverse workforce, and this is just objective data, outperform those with a homogeneous workforce. And I think that for the same reasons, GMs don't always have proper DEI training. And we as an industry can provide them with tools to be able to screen effectively and level the playing field and give these frontline workers an opportunity to look beyond maybe the color of somebody's skin, look beyond their age, look beyond their education, and hire for if they're going to be successful, if they're going to be right for your business, and create an equitable hiring process that derives not only a better for the world workforce, but also a workforce that drives more profits and more performance across the business. So that's kind of the three big pain points, again, being sourcing, again, being ghosting, and again, being turnover. And at Sprockets, it's with these three things that we derived our technology. So I put here fighting in the trenches with C-stores and QSRs. I think the reason I put fighting in the trenches is I think we're different than other HR technology companies in that we only do these two industries well, right? We are so focused on general managers, what they need, what they think. We're so obsessed with hourly workers, particularly Gen Z and millennials, thinking about what's going to drive conversion, what's going to do this. Other technology companies, although great and amazing, I have so much respect for them. They focus on white collar positions and how to help an HR technology or an HR certified manager make more, VP of engineering hires. That's great and it's important for the world, but we're in the trenches every day, getting smarter, building solutions for this space specifically. So with all that in mind, here's how it works. One is we're easily added to your HR tech solution today. So we get added to Indeed, we get added to applicant tracking that you might be using. So you might be using a platform like Talent Reef, Paradox, a number of others, as well as HRIS and payroll. So you might be using Paycom and ADP and these other solutions. Sprockets gets added, does not replace those. I think that's important. So the first thing you'll do at onboarding with Sprockets is we'll go into your Indeed account or your applicant tracking and we'll export everyone that's ever applied for your job. So you'll have, as I said, about 1,000 people, most likely, that you haven't touched in the last 4 years is sitting in your candidate graveyard, I'll call. Export that into a spreadsheet, and then you import that into Sprockets. Sprockets, what we do is we automatically enroll all of those people into a text message campaign where every couple weeks, everyone on that list gets a text message that says something like, hey, we're now applying at XY, or we're now looking for new workers at XYZ C-store. Press Y to say yes to reapply. Or, hey, we just raised wages by $1. Come work for us. Or something funny and timely. It's a whole drip campaign. Then what Sprockets does is when the applicants reapply, and you'll see some conversion metrics, they're very high, we'll automatically match and pre-screen those people for you, where we'll give them a 3-question survey when they come in, and based off of that, tell your managers a score of 1 to 10 on their probability to be successful at your business and stay long-term. From there, your hiring managers will start to get text messages just right from their phone or their iWatch to say, hey, AJ Richichi just applied. He scored a 9.0. Would you like to get connected with him right now? So manager can come in, press one button, talk to that person in real time. They can schedule an interview, or what happens more often than not, they already been sourced. They've already been screened with Sprockets. They do a quick exchange of information, a quick interview, and they offer them a job on the spot. The candidate also gets a text message when this match occurs that says, thank you for reapplying to XYZ location. You're a match. We'd love to have you. Please come work here. Here's the phone number of the hiring manager to complete your application. So again, it's notifying managers. It's also making the candidate feel special and wanted, to drive the conversions, to be able to hire more people, fill top of funnel, and ultimately take control of your staffing levels. And when I think of hiring, I think of today being, for many of us, a linear process where somebody indicates interest, and then you either say, yes, I'm going to hire this person, or you say no, where then they go into the candidate graveyard. You never talk to that person ever again. They're just sitting stagnant within your database. I think the optimal workforce, the optimal hiring process is, instead of a line, it's a circle where people, as they apply, constantly get re-engaged into your applicant pool for nurturing, for community building, and for reapplication. So you pay for that person once. You do not pay for that person the second time they apply, or the third time they apply, or the fourth time they apply, which you're doing right now on Indeed and other job boards. So this is just an example. I wanted to share some real data with you of an 8-unit McDonald's group that we did just last week. Or last month. Wow, time is flying. So they had 1,200 past applicants that were sitting in their applicant graveyard. And in a 24-hour period of time, actually this is 6 days, but I'll confirm this, but in a very short period of time, 121 of the 1,200 people reapplied. And this McDonald's group told us, there's nobody out there. I've tried everything. We keep putting money into Indeed. I don't know what to do. We were able to get them 121 net new applicants, pre-screened, pre-qualified, to come work for them right now, all passively in the backyard or in the background without them having to put money into the top of the funnel. And this is the pro tip, is this passive recruiting, constant stream of applicant communication, is what we believe to be the future of hiring. It's how millennials and Gen Zers want to be talked to. It's less pushy, it's opt-in, and it's more effective than constantly just feeding the Indeed machine, which a lot of us are doing right now. So what we find is that when you have this constant motion of circular, right, is you're adding to top of funnel. So you have more people constantly coming to apply for your job. And with the screening or matching technology of where we're telling general managers, hey, this is a good hire. Hey, you might want to stay away from this person. Is your general managers are now equipped to make better, more informed decisions and hire ultimately the right people, reducing your turnover on average by 43% in the first 90 days. So this is just some of the success we're having in the space. I was actually just at the National Association Convenience, NACS? Yeah, NACS show in Savannah. I talked to a lot of our customers like Spanx and Ricky Rockets. These are some of the success stories we're having with big brands, like 43% increase in 90-day retention with McDonald's operators, 37% less time screening, so less interviews, less text messaging, less phone calls, less begging people to come in for an interview. And ultimately at Firehouse Subs, 377% increase in monthly applicant flow. Very, very powerful results for a very big problem that we have profound respect for and have committed our entire company to solving for the C-store space and for the quick service restaurant space, primarily with general managers.
All right. Well, thanks again. We appreciate your time. Hope you all have a good week, okay?